Over 644,000 soldiers died in the Civil War, and 2/3 of the deaths were caused by disease. The number one killer disease during the Civil War was dysentery. Dysentery is caused by a bacterial infection. Victims of dysentery get severe diarrhea with passage of mucus and blood. The number two killer disease was typhoid fever. Also known as camp fever, typhoid fever caused a high fever, intense headache, intense rash, and delirium. Typhoid fever is caused by the Salmonella typhi bacteria. Malaria and scurvy were also two other diseases that caused major deaths in the Civil War. Medical procedures that added to the medical problems of the time were that they did not have proper hygiene precautions. They would not clean their surgical instruments after use, which caused the transmitting of diseases and infections. Uneducated doctors thought that pus was a good sign and would transfer it from patient to patient. This means the doctors were infecting more soldiers. A doctor's assistant wrote, "It was common to see a doctor with his sleeves rolled up to his elbows, his bare arms as well as his linen apron smeared with blood and his knife held between his teeth." One of the most important medical advancements was amputations. Amputations saved many lives throughout the Civil War and are still used today. Another major medical advancement was chloroform. In 1863, Stonewall Jackson's surgeon recommended the removal of his left arm. When a chloroform-soaked cloth was placed over his nose, the Confederate general, in great pain, muttered, "What an infinite blessing," before going limp. This is when they realized that chloroform would make things easier during amputations. The first antibiotic discovered was penicillin. One day, a scientist named Alexander Fleming was looking for different ways to destroy bacteria. In 1928, he was growing a multitude of bacteria known as Staphylococcus on agar plants. Due to his untidiness in his lab, he made two mistakes. He left the lids off of his plates for a long period of time, letting air in, and he didn't put all of his plates in bleach to sterilize them. When he came back, he noticed some of the plates were moldy. This mold would later be used to save millions of lives and be used to help discover more antibiotics. This is why this discovery was important to the medical field. Although penicillin was discovered in 1928, it wasn't until 1939 that Howard Florey and a team of researchers showed the potential of penicillin, and it was during World War II that the antibiotic gained its popularity. In 1943, the U.S. War Production Board came up with a plan for the mass distribution of penicillin to Allied troops fighting in Europe. Penicillin made a huge impact on society, especially soldiers. They were able to be healed from their wounds when they couldn't before. The greatest antibiotic discovered after penicillin was streptomycin, which was discovered in 1943. This antibiotic killed Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacterium, which causes tuberculosis. Semmelweis showed that childbed fever was contagious and that this incidence could drastically be reduced by appropriate hand washing by medical caregivers. He made this discovery in 1847 while working in the maternity department of the Vienna Ling Inn Hospital. Hand hygiene is important in reducing the bacteria and virus infection because physical touch is one of the main ways that bacteria and viruses can spread to one another. There was a study done in a teaching hospital in Geneva, Switzerland. They monitored the overall compliance with hand hygiene during routine patient care. They observed over 20,000 opportunities for hand hygiene practices. Compliance improved progressively from 48% in 1994 to 66% in 1997. This is the proper technique on how to wash your hands. First, you wet it in the water and get soap on your hands. Next, you lather and scrub. After you are done scrubbing your hands, you put them in the water and rinse them off for 10 seconds. You then dry your hands by either air drying or using a clean towel. Then you turn off the water. Hand hygiene is important in all situations. Whether it's after you use the restroom or go bowling, there's always bacteria everywhere, and you can never be too safe with washing your hands. Antibiotics work by affecting things that bacterial cells have but human cells don't. For example, human cells do not have cell walls, whilst many types of bacteria do. The antibiotic penicillin works by keeping a bacterium from building a cell wall. They are important in life today because these antibiotics keep us healthy and help us stay immune and fight any harmful viruses or bacteria. Amoxicillin is used to treat Streptococcus bacteria, which is found in ear infections. Cloxacillin and Nofcillin treats diseases caused by Staphylococcus bacteria. Clindamycin is effective against several types of bacteria such as Staphylococcus aureus, Streptococcus pneumoniae, Staphylococcus epidermidis, and Propionibacterium acnes. Amikacin treats serious infections due to gram-negative bacteria. Extra precautions you can take to fight bacteria and viruses is to wash your hands frequently and carry around an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Believe it or not, there is such thing as good bacteria. Good bacteria is also known as probiotics. There is lactobacillus, which helps in the digestion of food, bifidobacterium, which repairs stomach ulcers caused by the Helicobacter, and there is Bacillus coagulans, dietary supplements that people use for health concerns. It is possible to live without probiotics, but with them, they can help. Antibiotic resistance is when an antibiotic is used and the bacteria that can resist the antibiotic have a greater chance of survival than those that are susceptible. We should be concerned with antibiotic resistance because it can lead to life-threatening bacterial infection. Bacteria are becoming resistant to antibiotics in several ways. Some bacteria develop the ability to neutralize the antibiotic before it can do harm. Others can rapidly pump the antibiotic out, and still others can change the antibiotic attack site so it cannot affect the function of the bacteria. Ways you can prevent resistance to antibiotics is to talk to your healthcare provider. Don't take an antibiotic for a viral infection, such as a cold or the flu. Don't save some antibiotic for the next time you get sick. In other words, discard any extra antibiotics you may have. These are ways that bacteria become resistant to antibiotics. They prevent the antibiotic from getting to its target, they change the target, and they destroy the antibiotic. Antibacterial containing products have not been proven to prevent the spread of infection better than products that do not contain antibacterial chemicals. Although antibacterial products do kill bad bacteria, it also kills the good bacteria, and there's still a small percentage left. That small percentage of bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics. Common antibacterial products we use are hand wash, soaps, lotions, and dish detergents. Staphylococcus aureus and Neisseria gonorrhoeae are now almost always resistant to benzoyl penicillin. The reason why they are so dangerous is because some bacteria have become resistant to almost all of the easily available antibiotics. These bacteria are able to cause serious diseases, and this is a major public health problem. Antibiotic resistance spreads as bacteria themselves move from place to place. People can pass the resistant bacteria to others, for example by coughing or contact with unwashed hands. People are on the go and moving each and every day. This is how the bacteria spreads so rapidly. Ways to prevent this is to only take the pills prescribed by your doctor, and to stay organized and never go off of dosages. In the future, antibiotic-resistant bacteria will hopefully be less of a problem. It is recognized as a growing global threat. The White House announced the National Strategy for Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria in 2014. The FDA has and continues to be integral in these efforts. These are the reasons why I believe it'll be less of a problem in the future. We also have a part in the cause of this problem. The aggressive treatment with antibiotics is increasing the spread of resistance, not controlling it. Just like the tips before, ways to prevent this is to only take the pills prescribed by your doctor, and to stay organized and never go off of dosages. Probiotics could have a part to play in slowing down the spread of antibiotic resistance. Certain strains of probiotics have been demonstrated in clinical trials to prevent the side effects associated with antibiotics.